Morning everyone. It's a Sunday. You join me doing the first of our channel sponsor stuff today. We have a radio that's been delivered from a company called Ousmin. It's a 10.1 inch screen. This model is the OXf8. So what you'll get is a box like this delivered. Picture of a CarPlay radio on the front, and then on the side it'll tell you which version of the box you have, which version of the radio you have. This radio is made in China, and not typically my normal thing that I would go for, but this company have reached out and they've asked me to do a review on this unit, so let's see what's what. So first off, when you unbox it, this is the screen. You'll get a whole host of stuff. It's packed very well in foam, which sits down the side of the radio. The screen is covered in a soft cloth, and you get a user manual, camera extension cable, two kinds of brackets, your reverse camera, power lead, Wi-Fi aerial, microphone, another plug with a USB and some other bits and bobs attached. We'll discuss that in a minute. And the power for the camera. So this is kind of what you see in the box itself. This is what you see to expect. The power cable, let's start with that first. So this is actually a Kenwood style plug, but don't use a Kenwood style lead, because what tends to happen is they have placements for different parts of the head unit in different sections, so you don't want to go giving the head unit the wrong kind of signal. So we'll just run through the basics to start with. Obviously yellow permanent live, your black is your ground. You've got an orange for illumination, a red for accessory or ignition. This is all to do with your CAN bus. You've got a brown, which is your key 1. You've got a pink, which is your backup cable, your backup signal for your reverse camera. You've got an orange and a white stripe, which is your key 2 for CAN bus. A blue, a solid blue, that's your aerial antenna output, 12 volts usually. The speaker feeds, which are fairly self-explanatory. Grey obviously front right, white front left, green rear left, and purple rear right. That's that power harness. Then on the second one, obviously we've got our factory USB, normal. On here we've got a ground, 2 grounds, 3 grounds. We've got an antenna, an amp power for turning on an amplifier. CAN TXD, CAN RXD, front cam power, park brake to enable the functions on your stereo. Obviously you're depending on what kind of car you're putting this into, you can utilize the CAN systems and the key systems to access your steering controls. Microphone has a nice adjustable clip on it, so obviously you're not hooking this necessarily over the headliner, you're using this on a sticky plug, and it comes with a 3.5 kind of Sony Kenwood style headphone jack for the input for the microphone, and it has got a little cover to cut down on wind noise for the microphone. Obviously with these things, they're kind of trial and error. If you're in a cabriolet, you'll be grateful of the microphone cover. If you're not, then you may want to remove it, but that's obviously down to you. The reverse camera extension cable, kind of a standard thing. Phonos on each end, or RCA on each end, and you've got the trigger wire. Obviously if you're connecting this thing to the reverse light and earth at the back of your car, that will then power the camera directly through here. But in doing so, once you connect in your RCA lead, you can then use this little red wire to connect into your red wire from your camera power, and that will then run your trigger down to the front of the stereo, which will give you your picture and your switch onto your car. Looking at the camera itself, it worries me slightly. There's a big hole in the back. I'm not sure whether that's for ventilation to allow or to stop the screen misting up. I'm never a fan of these black metal brackets, if I'm honest, because they tend to corrode over time. If it's aluminium or stainless steel, happy days. If not, if it's mild steel, they do rust and you get runs down the car after a lot of washing. So I'm not really a fan of this kind of style bracket. I think once they're on the car and they're subjected to English weather, they don't fare well. As well as that, obviously you need to be careful of these connections. This is not a waterproof type. So when you're connecting these, if these are external or in a damp location, you need to heat shrink these two connections so you don't have water passing into the system and corroding your connection. So just be mindful of that. So that's the camera. Then the radio itself. It's a double DIN chassis, nice big flat 10-inch screen. We've got some touch sort of buttons at the side, a reset and a microphone input here. On the back of the unit, it's designed to be a standard kind of 7-inch chassis, short chassis, so not very thick. So it will go in, you know, radio holes where you've not got a lot of depth because of heater boxes, like in a BMW, things like that. This thing will work. You've got various inputs and outputs, camera feeds, camera ins, camera outs on the RCA and phono. That is where your Wi-Fi aerial will go, like thus, screwing it in. What I tend to do is get it to a certain point, wind it over, and then you kind of take up the slack, and as you tighten it up, as you lift it up, it then tightens into its place so it's stuck. We've got the normal FM, AM aerial input, the DIN size aerial input. Obviously we have our powers, which will click into there. You've got your TX, RX, USB inputs, brake, park signal, that goes in that one there. And then your microphone goes in this little 3.5mm hole there, like that. So that's pretty much the basis of our radio. Obviously, from factory, they give you this. Now I know that this thing will fit a Kenwood lead, but if you want to, you can always grab a bunch of bullets, much the same as these, and you can connect them onto something like a Connect 2 CT20 UV01, and that will give you the female version of your ISO plug to be able to push this into most cars and most leads. So some of them, one of them, and you're kind of laughing. It would be nice to get this on an ISO if I was being really picky, but you know, it is what it is. So that aside, we'll move on to the unit itself. Now, mounting this thing is a little bit strange, and it's something that did concern me, to be honest, when I first saw it. Let me just unplug these for a second. There we go. Right, so move that to one side for a second. Right, so the unit itself comes with two mounting style brackets, okay? They are covered in this little sort of plastic sheen to stop them corroding and wearing, that you can cover them, uncover them, and then you're left with two adjustments and then side brackets. So normally you see these kind of holes, these are meant for like cage inserts. They'll click into a holder when it's into a double DIN facility. So what we've got with this is there are two holes on the side of the unit there, and there are two holes on the side of the unit that side. At first I did think I had a problem because both of my brackets actually say left. Can you see the L? Both of them say left. I guess it doesn't matter. They look like they're orientated the same anyway, but either or. So what we've basically got is some screws which are supplied in the bag, in the box, from when you first get your unit. These are designed to screw into the side of here. So you have your stereo like this. These are the bits that are gonna kind of hold it protruding out of the dash. So let me just pop them on for a second. Just get my drill. There we go. So our side brackets are mounted, okay? So this is basically what's going to hold the radio into the dash. Okay, so you've got space here for all your connections and your bits and bobs that are going to go in, and then you've got your dash hole where your radio is going to sit out kind of like this. Now, one thing that did concern me, they supply you these things. Now, these are designed for usually Japanese cars where the radios are kind of bolted in. Not many German cars have bolted in radios, they're usually clips. So the idea of these is you get more of these little screws which are supplied in the box. You would have your dash bracket on the side here. You would then locate where you want your hole to go through on your side piece. And then you would basically insert, let's see if I can do this so I can show you what one looks like. Which one are we going to go for? The outer. There is a lot of adjustment on these. Obviously they are, you know, fully stripped top to bottom, so you can slide this thing up and down and it will go wherever it needs to go. Okay, so that's how they're supposed to sit. So you've got adjustment from this bracket. Now in a car stereo, you'd kind of bolt this to the dash, and then this would be what mounts your radio. Now my concern would only be from an engineer's point of view, and when we fit these things, is a lot of the aftermarket radios that have bigger screens than the fascia hole that you're going to go through, as in a 7-inch hole, is how do you get to these fixings once the radio is in place? Does that make sense? So what you're going to have to do is gauge how far in or out you want your radio to sit, fix these into the car and have them poking out of the holes, and then the last connection you're going to make is the side screws into the dash. Okay, that's one way of doing it, and it's going to be very fiddly because you're trying to hold everything whilst screwing at the same time, and it worries me that these things are not, you know, they're fairly sharp, and the radio is got the potential to go damaging dashes. So when you're trying to put it in a dash, you're going to have to be real careful that you don't start scratching this against the front of the plastics as you're trying to put your stereo in. Okay, there is, because they are square, although we have these slots down the side, so if I just back off these screws a little bit, you've got a little bit of adjustment for where these things can go, obviously up, down, left, right, but once it's on, it's on. So you're going to have to be real careful how you mount your radio within the tolerances that you're going to have, which is going to be quite tight. It would have been nicer to have almost like this bracket at the back in a cage that you could then bolt into the car, and then from the cage to have even some kind of nut in the middle or bolt in the middle or screw in the middle, and then textured dimples all the way around it so that it locked, and then you could have a more of a easy adjustment when the thing is in the dash. Do you understand what I mean? So that's the unit itself all kind of figured out. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to power it up, we're going to turn it on, and I'm going to let you see what it looks like with it actually activated. Okay, so I'll come back to you in a second. Right then everyone, so here is our unit. Now for the sake of demonstration, I've just put this to one side a second, which is the standard power feed, and I've gone with my Kenwood unit, which is currently running off of my 12-volt converter. Okay, so we're just going to use this for now. So we'll switch this on and the radio is going to come to life. So we get a picture of a car. I'm guessing you could probably start anything on these screens for the startup menu, and it says it's just going to start up. So on the screen itself, we've got a volume down, a volume up, a return button, like a backup button, a home key, power, reset, and there's a microphone input as well. So there's our display. Looks nice. Obviously it's connected to my phone on Wi-Fi because I've been playing with it already. So we can tap onto this. Have I got my phone activated? Let me just check. Make sure I've got this allowing. There we go. So there's my phone. So it comes up with our, let's just close that up a second. Comes up with our Android Auto face. So obviously we've got Google Maps, and I have mine set to Google satellite mode, so you get to see more of the detail of the road itself. Now, touching the screen, it's a nice, fast screen, as in it's very sensitive to your finger, so you can zoom around nice and simple. And obviously you've got the zoom in, the zoom out features, and we can scroll down here all the way down to, where are we? ASC, there we go, we're just there. So we can zoom in, There's my truck and my car outside the front. Obviously this limits my building over here, but I am actually just there on the corner. So we've got a nice fast screen. The picture, very cool, very quick, nice quality. As far as this is a Wi-Fi connection go, obviously, because we're not plugged in at the minute, so this is literally straight from my phone over wireless. Now if we go back to the home key, obviously we've got the usual Android Auto stuff all the way in there. Now I can't show you the Apple stuff because I'm not an Apple guy. I use Android, so we'll stick with this for now. You've got the normal stuff like Spotify. You've got the music. We're not going to have any sound because we will get copyrighted. But the unit wise is all nice and straightforward and quick and clear. When we go onto the home key, you've got various bits and bobs across the bottom, which would equate to radio, auto link. So that would be like your screen sharing, your mirroring. So you could do YouTube and films and things like that. Nice simple menus across the bottom, nice big buttons, very easy to use. And obviously in here, the settings, again, very self-explanatory: system settings, smartphone settings, Wi-Fi. The unit itself is laid out very well. It's nice and simple to use with regards to what you've got around you and availability. It's been thought out that it's a nice, simple, straightforward unit to use. At the top here, you've got the light button there. You can actually set your dimming to dark, obviously daytime, nighttime, with your moon and your sun. You've got your time up here in the corner when it's set. You've got the option for, where did I put him? Reverse camera. Right, so we take a quick second, we can go onto our camera, and there is our camera. So obviously here is our dash cam, currently looking at you. Now, image wise, it's not a bad quality, but I really detest those lines on the front of the camera. Now they're already pre-fixed into this. Officially, on the screen itself, I can go into a menu and I can adjust some extra guidelines on the screen where I want them. But this is really annoying. I haven't seen or found a way to be able to turn these guidelines off. They are automatically built into the camera. And I must say, to be honest, they're not really good. If you have a camera that's offset on the tailgate or boot of a car, if it's to one side, your guidelines are going to skew where you're driving, because many people look at an image like this and think, well, that's where I'm going. And this is going to make you either bump into something or get confused as to where you're going. You're going to rely on these lines being accurate. So these guidelines really need to be completely gone. And the adjustable ones that you can actually get on the screen, good idea, because then you can set where your limits of your car is, the edges of your car. That would be a better idea. So that's the camera itself. So we'll go back to the home menu. You've got obviously other things on here like USB, AV, front camera, Bluetooth music, phone, Android Auto, AirPlay, Auto Link, radio, CarPlay. Very self-explanatory. In the menu itself, there is lots of features and functions where you can go through different setup, as in how you set your system settings, your display settings. There's a whole host of things to do with this unit. It's quite in depth as far as what you've got going on, shall we say. So all in all, actually, a pleasant surprise from my norm. I'm yet to test its longevity. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to install it in the truck, and I'm going to use it for a week or so and see how the unit bears up with day-to-day life, because that's a big test, is its reliability. And then from there, we can make an assessment over its usage from day to day in a normal situation. But for now, I would say it's a fairly good unit. There are some little things I would change, some little things I would redesign, but other than that, if you spent your 300 quid on this unit, you'd be happy. So this is the Ousmin OXf8 10.1 inch screen, reviewed by Ascaudio. My name is Alex. If you want to see more of this, give me a shout. Other than that, enjoy. See you later. Have a good weekend, people.